Hi, Megan. Thank you for joining us. It's great to get to know you better and learn more about what you stand for. We're in your house in the heart of the newly redrawn Kanata Carleton riding. Maybe you can tell us why you chose to move here.
That was an easy one. When we were starting a family, like so many families in Kanata, we looked at what Kanata had to offer. It had the strong sense of community, it had all the beautiful green space that's here, and really importantly to my family, it had high tech. And I'm a lawyer with a lot of high-tech clients, and my husband works in high-tech. So Kanata was the obvious spot for us to settle down and raise our family, and we've been really happy with everything that Kanata Carleton has to offer.
So how long have you lived here?
We've been here for 8 years now.
Cool. So you're a successful lawyer, as you mentioned.
Yep.
Why politics?
Well, I've been a lawyer for 13 or so years now. And I was always drawn to politics in the backroom of politics. But one of the things that I found myself advocating for whenever we were sitting around talking about who should be a candidate at a given level was I wanted to see myself reflected in the people in government. And that's what my community was telling me whenever I talked to them about politics too, was that people always seemed remote and far off, and they just never saw themselves reflected in politics. And eventually I realized that I was talking about myself, and I needed to step forward and run for politics too. And then it only made sense for me to run where I live. I had settled here, decided to raise my family here, committed to this community. And I hadn't just looked around and thought, I'd like to run for politics, let me find a place that's empty that I can run in. So my running in Kanata Carleton is about my commitment to this community, my commitment to raising my family here and being a part of the business community, as well as the hockey teams and the soccer teams and the schools and the fundraising at the rec center. And then an extension of that by saying, I'll represent us on Parliament Hill as well.
When we think about, an MP, you're not just obviously thinking about locally. What are the big national issues?
So I think all the big issues are encapsulated in one concept right now, which is Canada has to get back to planning for the next 50 years. Right now, the last 10 years, we've planned for the next election. So we've said what 5 bullet points are going to look good on an election platform, and then that's defined how we're going to run the country. That's not how you plan for the country that we're going to leave our kids and even our grandkids. So we need to have that idea of a 50-year long-term plan that runs across the board, that applies to our economy, and it means that we have to look at promoting innovation and entrepreneurialism and the role the government plays in that, because government does have a role in that. And then we have to look at citizenship in our country and making sure that over the next 50 years, we continue to be the kind of place that attracts the best and brightest from around the world, and then provides them with every opportunity to thrive. Whether it's people coming from across the world to go to university, we make sure we retain those bright talents, or whether it's people coming from around the world that have credentials and then can't get the right Canadian experience to contribute that experience. The next spot where we absolutely need a long-term plan is obviously the environment. We're completely lacking in a long-term plan. So we've got all these amazing natural resources, really like no country in the world, and we have no plan for that. So how are we going to know that 50 years from now we've made sure we have responsible resource development in a way that there's continuity there, and that we're not leaving a polluted environment for our kids and our grandkids? And then the last, and something that really troubles me, is our plan for how we're going to play a role in the world for the next 50 years. So that's something that we have completely been eroded on in the last 10 years under the Stephen Harper government. Our role in the world has gone from diplomacy and peacekeeping to jumping on to military actions, and to treating world ideas as black and white. And it's just not the way that Canada has played a role in the world in the past. And it's not where we should be playing a role for the next 50 years. So again, we need to look at a long-term strategy, not just who do I think I should appease to get me reelected for the next election.
So we've talked nationally, we've talked globally. What do you think you can achieve or accomplish locally as an MP?
So again, it's really important to me that our MP is someone who's accessible and involved in the community. And that sounds like a really easy concept, but we have been frankly abused on that concept over the last few representatives that we've had in this riding. They're just not there and accessible, and I know that because I'm there and I'm accessible and they're not. So I know that our current MP has played no role in our business community and our social fabric of this community. And for me, that goes back to those community roots. That's why I'm running. I'm not going to abandon all that. I'm not going to be jetting off around the country worrying about my public profile. I'm going to be that MP, and we have some amazing representatives that reflect that kind of governance where you can play a really active role on the national policy making, but then still be really accessible and locally involved. And that means that, for example, our high-tech community, those needs and interests are going to be reflected into our national government policy because I'm connected to the community. So that's what I think I'll bring from the local level.
So, and we're talking also about a Liberal change from the current government. What sets you apart as a nomination candidate?
So I've got to go back to the community again. It's really, I'm so passionate about being a part of the community and that being my motivating force to run. And it really is what differentiates me and sets me apart is that role that I've played in the community. And that's going to pay dividends in the next election because I have those connections all through the riding, and more importantly, I have a legitimacy in the riding that I roll up my sleeves and I get things done. And that is what voters look to. They look to somebody that's established, that they're starting to recognize a little bit as, oh yeah, they're always coming out, that the local papers know who I am, and that they can turn back to, oh yeah, that's right, Megan did this, Megan did that. And it's an absolute differentiator that I have that role in the community already.
So we've got a lot of candidates out there promising voters the world. How do people know that you'll deliver?
Easy, I already do. Again, it's, fundraising for the new rec center that went up. I don't just show up and God hand, but I roll up my sleeves and I help organize the events. I go and advocate for the business community with all levels of government, even when frankly it's been a bit uncomfortable, and I've had to take positions in advocacy that are difficult. And the school board is another example where I've gone and I've advocated time and again for positions that aren't always the easiest thing to advocate for. So there's no doubt that on my community role, I've already delivered, and I think that gives me the legitimacy to say that I will continue to deliver.
So Megan, let's be blunt. This riding is traditionally conservative. What's your plan to win?
It's true, it has been conservative, but there's some really key points for this election. 1, we have a new riding. 2, we have a new party leader. And 3, I've got the best campaign team going already. So we've been redefined. We're now in a boundary that we know votes Liberal. There's 19,000 people who voted for me in the 2011 election. That's an awful lot of Liberal voters who want to be given a voice. And they're going to come out in spades because we've got an inspiring new leader who's talking positively and is going to inspire our voters to get out. So we've got that. And then we've got an amazing campaign team on my side. We've got the cutting edge communications that we've been missing, frankly, in this riding and past elections. And we've got a great fundraising team already in place. And we can start fundraising the day that I win the nomination. We don't have to worry about leadership debt. We can go right to raising the money that's going to be needed to win this campaign. And to make sure that the Liberal voters in this riding aren't frustrated and will stay away in future elections. This is our chance. If Kanata Carleton goes blue this time, the voters are going to throw up their hands, and everything I've been hearing at the doors for the last 8 years about this riding's incurably conservative is just going to be reinforced, and we absolutely can't have that happen in this new riding. So from the date of the nomination until the election date, whenever it is, every single day will be about what did we do today to win that election in 2015. And I commit to that, and I'm really confident that as the candidate for Kanata Carleton for the Liberal Party, we will bring this one home, and we will absolutely be able to speak for all those Liberal voters in this riding who are so desperate to have a voice.
Megan, it's been so great talking to you tonight, learning more about you and what you stand for. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I've really enjoyed having this dialogue, both as a candidate and now as a nomination candidate, and I want to continue having that dialogue with the whole riding. So I'm asking for people to support me as the Liberal Party of Canada candidate for the 2015 election. And I encourage people to go to my website, megancornell.ca. There's lots of information there, but importantly, reach out, contact me. I've had lots of conversations and I want to have more conversations before there's a vote so that voters of the Liberal Party choosing their nomination candidate know exactly what they're voting for and can choose the candidate that is best poised to win the next election and then is going to be the best MP for this riding.
Terrific. Thanks so much for your time.